Hey guys, welcome back to my channel Automate Innovation. So guys, today we are going to see about the second session in Selenium, that is Selenium Basics.java. So here we are going to see the different item types and we'll just get started with Selenium. So in the first session, we had seen, okay, how to get started with WebDriver. So we are going to see one step further than that. So I've already having the Selenium WebDriver jar here added to this project. So let me just show it to you all. If you go to configure build path, you would see there is a Selenium server standalone jar file which I have shown in my last session. So if you have not gone over my last session, I would advise you all go over my last session of Selenium and then come back to this session. Okay, so what are we going to see in this session? So we are going to see that, okay, how do we get started? So we have seen a little bit on WebDriver. So let's just recap on that. So what we'll do is we'll create a WebDriver variable. So I've created a WebDriver global variable here, and I'll just import the jar. I'll just import the WebDriver class here. Okay. So what do we need to have initially to get started? So we need to have a setup method. So let me just have a setup method, and I will be initializing this with whatever browser I'm going to launch with, right? So let's go ahead and launch the Chrome browser, right? So we would need to have the system property set up for the Chrome browser first before we even try to open the browser, right? So what we have to do is we have to use a syntax system.setProperty. Take that one, and then you have to mention this keyword webdriver.chrome.driver, and then you have to give a path of from where you're going to access your Chrome driver. So you can just store it at any location you wish to. So it's just preferable to actually store it in your project path so that it is easy to find out and easy to map it. So let me just give the path of my Chrome driver. Okay, so here is the path of my Chrome driver. So this has to be till the Chrome driver.exe, not the folder in which it is present, but the entire path. So I've added that path here. Now the next step, what we have to do is we have to then say driver equal to new Google Chrome driver. So you have to basically import this. So you have to import this Chrome driver first, right? So when you do the mouse over, it shows that you need to have the Chrome driver imported. So that's done and done. So now what we have to do is we have to basically launch the browser, right? So the way to launch the browser is to basically mention the URL which you want to load. So I'm giving the URL here. Let's just say gmail.com, for example. Okay. And not just that, we also have to set up some more properties here, guys. So because we have to make sure this window, whatever we are launching, the Chrome browser, basically is maximized. So we are just going to do driver.manage window.maximize, and even we would have to wait for the elements to be completely loaded. So we are going to go to timeouts and set an implicit wait. So we can set an implicit wait of, let's say, 10 seconds maximum. It will wait for this much of time before it gets timed out. And we also have to set up a timeout for your page load timeout. So you can say as 10, 20 seconds, right? Yeah. So you have to take care of the spelling. Yeah. So now what is going to happen? So it's basically launched the Chrome browser. It has set the timeouts and it's basically going to get to this URL. That's the part we are taking care in a setup. Now once our all action is taken care, okay, so let's say we have a method here as test method. So in this method we basically would be trying to execute our scripts. It will have the logic to execute a test case. So we are going to call this method. So this is not the right way as such in a long run if you are going to go ahead in Selenium, but this is the basic way to get started with Selenium, because it's not that easy to get started with the right way of approaching to this, because it's a little complicated to understand that initially. But as and when you do good practice in Java and Selenium, you will find it more easier, and you would be finding the alternative way also very much easier to do. But let's get done this way. Okay, and we need finally a method to tear down, or let's say end our test case. So that is, we are just giving a name as tear down. So you can always put the comments here. So what this will do is basically after a test case is over, it's just going to close your driver. And let's say, so this is just going to close your current browser which is open. If you would wish to close all your windows which are open, you have to use driver.quit. So for the time being, just so that I show you all the output, I am just keeping this driver.quit closed for now, and even this one as well. So we will use this function at the end once we have shown the actual output, like how it goes about. Right. So what are we doing now? We are going to gmail.com. Okay. And we will also see what other things this driver variable has in it. So that's what we're going to see in this session. So when we say driver dot, so let's try to understand each and every method, which is very much important from a Selenium standpoint. So what is find element? Find element is basically used to find an element, okay, by whatever different types of attributes are there. So that I'll be covering in my next session. But what is this basically doing? It is basically able to locate an element in your web page. That's what find element is able to do. Okay, find elements is like in case you are having more than one element. So basically it has to store it in some kind of a collection as we have used in Java. So it's going to store that in a list of elements. Okay, get, as we already saw, it is used to load the application URL. Okay, get title is used to get the current page title, so that we are able to navigate, and then we are able to verify if the title of the window is as per what we expected. These two things we will see in our next sessions, because it's a little bit of a concept which we need to understand before that. Manage, I've already seen. To manage the window, we have used manage method, right? And even for timeouts as well. Navigate is basically like similar to get. If you are using navigate, you can mention which URL you want to navigate to. So you can say google.com, right? Right. So if you want to just mention this way, that what URL you want to navigate to, so you can mention that URL here. So let's just keep it very simple at this point of time, and let's just call this program, and let's see what's the output. So it just has to identify the Chrome driver, launch the browser, and it has to load the application URL. So I'm just going to run this program now. So I'll call the setup method, and that's it. And it just should be able to do it on its own. So it's identifying, and it's now launching the browser. It has maximized it. It's going to load the URL now. It has done its part, and now it's redirected to google.com. So this is the simple example of how you use this driver to basically point to which particular URL, or which particular method you want to use to. What next does this have? So apart from that, it has quit, as I've already explained. To quit, switch to is basically used in case you have an alert window and you want to switch to that alert window. Then in that case you can use switch to. Or let's say you are having a frame, you want to go to that frame then do some action on certain element, and then come back to your maybe a parent window again. So in that case, you might use switch to. And wait is used for implicit wait, and for explicit wait, you can explicitly mention how much of time you want to wait for a particular element to load. So that's all about it. So tear down is what we are going to do. So let's just take an example that if we have loaded to gmail.com, okay, and what do we want to do with it? So let's take a simple example. So what we have to do is, I'll just take an example, and then the locators I'll just explain you all in the next session, because it will be a lengthy session. So I'll just take an example and explain the very basic part. Yeah. So now I'm just trying to log into my channel here. So I'll just try to ensure that it is able to enter some data here, right? So I'll just enter some data here. So I inspect this value. Okay, so this is how you inspect the value, guys. So you have to do right click and you have to say inspect. This could be done even in Mozilla Firefox, and it could be done even in Chrome. If you are using a Firefox version, which is a very older version of Firefox, like 30 or something like that, then you would be able to see Firefox and Firebug. So I'll explain you all how to install that and how to use it in my next session. But just to get started with this particular script, we'll just inspect one element. So I'll do right click and do inspect. So it is highlighting this element now. If you do a mouse over on this input tag, it is highlighting the element. So if we would want to highlight, see, this is the entire div tag. We want to enter the password, which is the input tag. So it's going one step inside into the div tag. So I want to enter some value. So I have these different attributes to identify the element. I have type, I have class, right? These are all different attributes I'm going to have. But to start off, we need to take either ID attribute or name attribute. That is how we go about in Selenium. We try to take the identifier, the main identifier of an element as ID or name. In case both of them are not present, then we go for the other types. So let's just go for the name as password. So you have to copy this. You have to say, okay, now this we will be doing as a part of a test case, right? So we have to put it here. Driver dot find element by dot. You're going to find this by name, right? So you have to use name here. Mention in double quotes which is the value of the name attribute, and that's it. What you want to do with it? You want to send some values, right? So for sending some values, you have to use send keys method. So these are the different other methods also which are available for an element. So you can see here we can check if an element is displayed, enabled, selected, and all that. So that will be useful when we are trying to do some assertion or test case verification. So I'll show that shortly in my next session. So I'll just say send keys, okay, and I'll just give some value. Just give some value, and that is it. So if you just have a look at it now, that it should basically enter that value into this particular text box, and that's the simple program which we are trying to run in this particular session. So let's go about it. Let's run this program, and finally after that is done, I want to close my window so that the test case is completed. So I'll just call test method, and then I'll call the tear down method. Okay, guys, so we have set up three methods now to execute a complete test case. So let's just see how it goes about. Okay, I'll run this program now. Okay, it has launched the Chrome browser. It's going to load the application now. Okay, it should enter the value. Okay, so since I have not identified the email, it has basically not been able to identify the password. So you would be seeing there is an exception encountered here, because last time we were redirected directly to the password part. So that's the reason you're getting this no such element exception. So that's the learning, guys. If you see any error, we should not get frightened with that error. We should just try to understand what is it trying to say. So we will have a different tutorial on this separately, all the different exceptions which we can see in Java and Selenium. So it's just trying to say there is no such element. The reason is because it has landed to email first, and then there will be password field. So you have to inspect this one. Again, go by the same approach. Take the locator inspector and just inspect the element. So here we are seeing what is the name. Name is identifier. So if you just want to do a cross check, you can just do a cross check. So you can just build a XPath, so that I'll be explaining in my next session. So it's able to uniquely identify the element. So I can just instead go with XPath. Okay. So I've used the other type of check here. I'm going to use here XPath. And after that, I'm going to send some value, but it should be in the form of an email. But since this is a user ID, I can just say, and then I can go with it because it will automatically append at the rate gmail.com. So this should also work. So let's run this program now. So it's loading. Okay. So it has entered the value. So since there was a driver.close and there was a not much of a waiting period after that, we could not see that clearly. So let's run it again. Right. So it has entered the value, and likewise you can also click on a link, you can click on a button. There are different options for that. So let's just go one step further to see how to basically click on a link. If I say I want to find an element, so for clicking on a link there is a method, guys. So that is the method name is link text. So with link text you can basically just mention what is the hyperlink name you want to click on. So I want to click on forgot email. So if I do a right click and do inspect, yeah, so this is the text which you see here. So you have to copy this text here and you have to paste it here. So it's going to find out which is that link which matches with this text, and it is going to click on it because we are going to give our next method as click. So it's going to click on it, right? And that's it about this test case. So let's run it. Okay, so it's not able to click on it for some reason. So let's see what's happening. So it's given an error. It's saying no such element present. So let's just see why is it so. Yeah, so basically the reason is because you have to have a hyperlink tag, a tag. This is a button here. So sometimes here that if you see the type of an element may not be hyperlink or a tag. So in that case you have to use button and you have to give the name. So how you do about is that you just have to find out the XPath of this one. Right. So it's now able to identify this element properly. So you have to come back here and just put that XPath. If it would have been a hyperlink, then we could have used that directly. But since it's a button, it's not allowing us to do that. Okay, so we have put that forgot email one here and we are going to click on it. So let's run this program now. Okay, so it has clicked on forgot email, and now we have landed to the next page. So hope you like this session, guys. So please do subscribe to my channel, Automate Innovation, and I'll be posting few more videos in my next session for the Selenium XPath, how to find an element through different ways. And also we will be looking at what are the key aspects which we need to know in Selenium before proceeding to different complicated concepts like framework creation, and then how to organize our packages and how to organize our files and testing. So stay tuned and do subscribe to my channel and share with your friends. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye.